How is everyone today? Last year, I decided to tackle ORAMM for the very first time, pushing my limits and giving it my all. This year though, things took an unexpected turn. I signed up just a week before the event, and guess what? I did absolutely no training for ORAMM this year. So let's roll this experiment and let's see how I finish compared to last year. And let's be honest, at the start of this year, I was on track. I was putting in the work, I was prepping for ORAMM, I wanted to beat my time of last year, but then life just happens as it does, and my training went off the rails a little bit. I cut my weekly training time by a third, and honestly, I was nervous about the challenge ahead. Last time I barely made it through with a time of 6 hours and 31 minutes. I put in a ton of preparation for the event, and I implore you to watch last year's race to see what all went wrong. I literally thought I might lay down and die at the top of the mountain. Alright folks, we are here at the start line of the off-road assault on Mount Mitchell. I'm not going to go into how difficult this race can be for some people. I know people that it has taken them over 12 hours to finish this, but you can feel the nervous energy in the air. And I may not have trained like I did last year, but I had a really good plan, and I knew this year was going to be a huge mental test as much as it was going to be a physical one.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Head out, guys. Have a lot of fun here at ORAMM 2023.
As I've gotten older, I've really learned that sometimes in life you need to embrace challenges like this, even if you're not fully prepared. To me, that really helps you to see what you can handle when the unexpected happens. Thank you. The start of ORAMM is always hectic as a lot of people forget they have 6+ hours of racing left and think that the first 5 miles are make or break, which to me really only matters for like the top 10 because of the traffic on Kitsuma. My initial plan was to stay out of trouble near the front and then let the lead pack slide on up the road as I scooted my way back down to await Keith's power meter to tell me exactly how hard I'm going up Kitsuma. Basically, that just means I was going to sit on his wheel. And then again, unless you are in the top 10 to 20-ish, once you hit Kitsuma, it's going to be a show for the first lap. People yell at you to get out of the way if you're walking, even though everyone is walking. It's obnoxious, and honestly, if you don't want to get into traffic, then you have to be at the front of the race at this point. Every time. We made it off Kitsuma in one piece and started to rotate through on the pavement as we made our way towards Star Gap.
That guy's almost done. Cameron, come lay here with me.
Oh, what happened?
I already went too hard.
Cramping already? Yeah.
Coming on your right here. Well, try to go on your right here.
I'm taking the bad line.
Yeah.
I was still hanging with Keith at this point, and he is riding phenomenally well, as he had recently competed and finished the Pisgah stage race. He also had the times from the previous year's race taped at his top tube, and when we were getting to the end of Jarrett Creek, he said that we are either having a good day or messed up because we were 7 minutes ahead of schedule from the previous year.
Huh? Oh, he put a number on it?
I don't know, I couldn't find it.
Okay.
What do you mean, bottle?
Yeah. Thank you,
his
you're
number,
awesome.
Jeff is gonna get you guys at 3. How's it going?
Way ahead of schedule, so either
You're doing really
I'm
good.
doing good or I f***ed up, one of the two. Yeah. Thanks, man.
The next aid station was approximately an hour away at the top of Curtis Creek, so I only took one water bottle as I was attempting to be as light as possible. So I stayed within sight of Keith probably 3/4 of the way up Curtis Creek. He is a substantially better climber than I am, and for this portion of the race, you were essentially going uphill for an hour and a half. I had planned on sucking as well for as long as I felt like we were holding 220 watts, but once the pitch started going up more, the gradient started getting a little bit harder for me. I kept my effort the same, and instead of trying to sit on Keith's wheel, I let him go. I don't want to say that like I could have stayed with Keith, because I knew for a fact if I was going to stay with him all the way to the top of the parkway at the pace that he was holding at that time, I was going to be blown for the next half of the race.
Thank you, guys. Oh, that's coming out my nose.
This leads us to the new portion of the race, which by my estimation adds about another 20 to 25 minutes. It's about 1.7 miles up the parkway, and then you get a pretty chunky, loose-rocked descent.
Yeah.
The true challenge was upon me, making it to the bottom of Heartbreak without cramping and falling over and dying. If you haven't watched the previous video, please do, because it kind of goes into detail more about the course. This descent is anywhere from 30 minutes if you're feeling fresh to 45 if you're dying, and you're probably going to be dying if you're doing ORAMM. But the biggest obstacle here is honestly the small hike-a-bike section that comes in, I want to say maybe halfway down Heartbreak. Technically you can roll it, but you have to be pristine condition, no brakes, and hitting it hard. I was not doing that, and this is the hill that I had my cramp episode that saw me lose about 10 minutes last year. So I was a little nervous hitting it, gonna see how I felt. I did cramp a little bit doing the walk, but my nutrition this year was on point, and I think that's what saved me more than anything. We'll go over that at the end of the video. I made it up and over the hike-a-bike with minimal cramping. Actually, I cramped a little bit harder on the Blue Ridge. And you can't stop pedaling when you're cramping. It will lock your legs down. You have to pedal through it. I know that is easier said than done, but just keep pedaling.
The cramps are real.
Yeah, I'm about to raw dog some scratch.
You're basically doing a squat for 20 minutes before you hit this hike-a-bike section. And then my legs started cramping last year, and as soon as I got off the walk, it literally locked down and I was dragging my leg behind me like I was paralyzed almost. So I was extremely happy I made it up and over this with minimal cramping. At this point, I started to feel a little better. I was taking on tons of salt, trying to make sure that I was keeping up with my nutrition. Since I haven't ridden ORAMM in a year, I had it in my head the sections I was going to walk. I am not too proud to say that yes, I walked down Heckle Hill. Heck, I might have been like the first person to walk down it. An obstacle like that, I am completely fine trying with friends on a normal training ride, but since I haven't even seen Heckle Hill since last year during the race, I already had it in my head I wasn't going to risk crashing and losing an eyeball like has happened here before.
Better be off this mountain. Oh, there's so much pressure. Oh, way. Yeah,
boy. Get to Heckle Hill, walk down it, do the walk of shame, get back on my bike, start heading to the last aid station, and going up Kitsuma the last time.
Damn, that was refreshing. Oh, man.
Making it off of Heartbreak, I was feeling phenomenal.
Cameron! You got it, Cameron! What do you need? I got the ice.
Thank you. Thank you. You're awesome. Love you. Thanks.
And I started to get a second wind, so I knew that I only had about, an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how I'm feeling, left in the tank. When you start doing your nutrition, you really have to figure out like how much salt you can take on, how many calories you can take on, and not upset your gut as well. And I think I nailed it perfectly because I started picking up speed, picking my pace up on the latter half of this race. No cramps whatsoever, just tired. Last year, I am not proud to say, once I hit the bottom of Kitsuma, I walked from the bottom to the very top of Kitsuma because my legs hurt that bad. They were cramping that bad. This year, nothing, dude. I rode the whole thing. I am so proud of that. I'm more proud of that than having a good time. So make it down Kitsuma for the final time, hit the pavement, no one was around. I put my head down and just kept pressure on the pedals, made it back to town, and I demolished my time. This time I came in at like, is that 6:28, which is technically like 3 minutes faster than last year, but the course is like 4 miles longer, and by my estimations, that extension actually adds 20 to 25 minutes, depending on who you are. I'm just going to go with that I got around a 25-minute benefit over last year. I demolished my time from last year and trained less to be able to ride what I consider one of my better performances. I was super proud of because I was expecting to do worse. Keith ended up finishing like 10 to 12 minutes better than me. With the amount of training that he's been doing, I was actually happy to be that close in time to him. Other notable performances, Eddie Berto, he came in at like a 7.5 hour. He trained his butt off for this event, and I can't begin to explain what must have been going through his head because this was his first ever bicycle race, period. Most people are like, let's just jump into a short track race, you know, dip my toes. He just jumped right off the freaking deep end, not even the deep end, he jumped into like Mariana's Trench of trying to do your first bicycle race. He went to ORAMM and he completed it in a 7.5, so great job for him. Also, my beautiful wife, I can't thank her enough because she ran support. She helped find our stuff at the aid stations and have it prepared for us before we even got there. That way we could save time doing that. She also walked around and did some narration.
I'm gonna pretend I'm a history vlogger. They made all these cool seats out of rocks. I like rocks.
But my nutrition, what did I do differently? I had a conversation with a guy. He actually had his sweat tested, and he said that he never thought he was a super heavy sweater, but you know, come to find out, he lost a lot of salt in his sweat, as do a lot of people. His protocol was he would take like 1,000 milligrams of salt right before a big event, and then it was like 500 milligrams of salt every hour. So those little pickle shots, they actually have about 500 milligrams of salt in them. So I took 2 salt tablets right before the race. During the race, I did a pickle shot every hour. I think I went through 7 of those things. They're just easier to do than taking a pill during the middle of the event. And I made sure to have flow. I had some tailwind, so I was keeping my calorie count relatively high. That, I think, made all the difference. If you guys want to know more about my preparation for this event, I'm probably gonna do a video on the whole salt thing because that was an eye-opener for me whenever I started actually using that protocol. But I love this event. I'll be back next year as long as, you know, everything's held constant and I'm good and healthy. I don't care what kind of fitness I have. This event is an amazing one to do. I implore everyone to do it at least once. Always gets, you know, like 400 plus people at it. I think I ended up like 12th or maybe 14th. It was top 15. I was top 15 in my category, which I was super proud of. Almost gonna break the top 10. I'm confident I can get in the top 10, especially if I get to train a little bit more for it next year. So that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone that helped put on this event. But yeah, that's what I got for you guys. Love you all. Thank you so much for supporting me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.